fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Get in the game with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Wrap your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash, a new rewards program from Venmo. No monthly fee, no minimum balance. Just school pride and spending power. Get in the game and sign up for the Venmo debit card at venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
Can you actually survive as a content creator when your health, your income, and your audience all depend on platforms that don't care if you burn out?
I would literally be sick to my stomach if I lost a paid subscriber.
From medical bills to hate campaigns, platform pivots to political gaslighting. What happens when the platforms you cover become the platforms you depend on?
Subscription and follower feeds were never a good content delivery mechanism for creators in some ways.
Taylor Lorenz has spent years reporting from the front lines of internet culture. She's exposed how platforms exploit creators, how algorithms erase nuance, and how content creators are expected to be their own everything: publisher, promoter, accountant, and brand.
But behind her reporting is a deeply personal truth. In today's economy, being online is both the job and the danger.
The economy is broken, but some people are still making it work. And we're here to find out how.
I'm Anna Marie Cox.
And I'm Open Mike Eagle.
And this is Past Due. So this is our first question, which is, when's the last time you worried about kind of covering your expenses for the month?
Every day, 2 seconds ago,
Oh,
right before I logged on.
I was just sharing that I just checked my credit score before we started. So
I'm scared to check.
it's the freelancer. It's the freelancer life, right?
It really is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Also, even when I was full-time, I have a lot of medical, I got sick 2.5 years ago and have this immune condition now. And medical bills are crazy in this country. I feel like I'm always getting a random $5,000, $10,000 bill that I can't figure out how to pay for. So I feel like it's just life in America too.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that a little bit. I've talked about it with my friends who are creators about the very real threat of just getting sick. I don't know if people understand it can be a kind of terror.
They don't understand. They don't care because they don't even wear a mask. People, they don't care if they kill you. They don't think that they will get sick, and they think that other people that get sick are weak. And that's been, unfortunately, I think, I've reported a lot on this, but we have the entire country basically believing that sickness is good for you. You saw the rise of the immunity debt conspiracy theory, which is a conspiracy theory that says it's a very anti-vax conspiracy theory. And it's one that says basically maximum disease is good, getting infected is good, and your immune system is like a muscle. None of that is true, of course. But liberals believe it now,
Wow.
Everybody across the political spectrum, I think, because there's been so much disinformation since the start of the pandemic, they believe a lot of that stuff, which is scary as somebody that doesn't have paid health leave.
And considering how difficult it is for most people to get health coverage, who benefits from people believing stuff like that? Who does that even serve?
Well, it very much serves employers, businesses, the government. This is how they were able to force everybody back to work with zero worker protections in 2021, right? We always knew that the vaccines don't stop transmission. Young people can't be vaccinated. Vaccines for many different diseases, people are not even vaccinated for. Disease is bad, even if you are fully vaccinated against diseases. You want to keep yourself healthy, but if people really understood, I think the harm that disease can do, especially COVID and measles and these other really harmful diseases, they would not just go back to work and sacrifice their bodies. They would ask for worker protections. They would ask for things like paid healthcare, paid leave, paid sick leave, air, cleaning the air, things like that. And businesses don't want to pay for that. Businesses have never wanted to pay for that. I think this is like a very American problem in a lot of ways too.
And it rolls back into the obsessions of this podcast, because I think that belief that also helps employers, because it makes it seem like going solo, like becoming a content creator, like becoming a hustler, is much more safe than it really is, right? And it helps romanticize content creator sort of lifestyle. That people think, oh, you're a content creator. Oh, I mean, that must be really fun. Like, you get free stuff and all you do is take pictures of your dog. And like, what a great life to like travel everywhere or to make funny videos. When really, I know we all know people who are in the situation of presenting a life as an influencer that looks amazing, right? That like is so exciting and funny and smart and like cool stuff. But really behind the scenes, like, there's a real concern, not just about, is this all going to go away, but what if I get sick? Like, if you're over the age of maybe 25, I think, if you're off your parents' insurance, like, it's a real concern. Like, last night I had like the chills a little bit, and I was like, oh shit, man, if I get sick right now, like, I'm so fucked. Like, this is a particularly rough month to get sick.
Yeah, you just can't afford it. I mean, I just got back. I was at the White House Correspondents' dinner this past weekend. And I obviously had my N95 on every single place I went indoors. And I just was like, I cannot get sick, you guys. Like, I just can't. I can't afford to. I'm about to do 10 other projects and I have to travel. And I know it's life in America.
With how much that, aspect of protection and health has been politicized, like, what was it like walking around in those spaces? Like, White House Correspondents' Dinner, you're probably, in ground zero for people who believe all of the disinformation you were just talking about. So what was that experience like?
Well, the sad thing, Mike, is that I think liberal spaces and leftist spaces have been more hostile about public health protections than right wingers. Liberal spaces have gotten so radicalized. They are further to the right on some of these things than Trump was in 2020, or a lot of these right wingers. I was at the inauguration and I was at, parties with the most extreme far right influencers. I was covering the TikTok party where they invited some of the most, libs of TikTok, all these people, right? None of these people believe in public health.
Right.
They don't say anything to me. They'll never say anything to me because they're fundamentally full of shit, basically. And they just go online and say all this stuff. But they know that actually saying something weird to an immunocompromised person who's wearing a mask, they won't do that because it's antisocial weirdo behavior. Maybe some of them are trolls, but they really won't. I mean, even a Breitbart reporter came up to me and said, wow, I should be wearing my mask too. This was during inauguration. But I think that the media and a lot of liberal media has drunk up so much of this anti-public health ideology that I've gotten more comments from people like that. Like former colleague of mine at the New York Times, who I adore, but was like, why are you wearing a mask? Those don't stop, that doesn't stop disease. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? So, I think what's depressing is how pervasive the misinformation and the denialism has become of all public health across the political spectrum. This is why you see parents sending their kids to school with measles now, and school districts, by the way, I think in New Hampshire and some other places, allowing children to come to school with measles, which would have been unheard of 5 years ago.
I'm really interested in how this intersects with what you do, like you're saying, going to you needed to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right? You need to be out in these spaces. You need to do these interactions for your job. And the other thing that's a part of your job you have to do is you are a particularly heavy content creator. You produce a lot. And I had some, I won't call it, I've worked through it, so it wound up not being chronic, but I had a spell of, I can't call it chronic fatigue syndrome, but I had fatigue incident having to do with all my meds kind of interacting badly. And it, paralyzed my work. And part of it was a result of burnout. And so how do you do it? Like, what?
How did any of us do it?
I know there's no magic to it, but I'm not looking for pro tips, I guess I'm just curious about you navigating those tensions.
Yeah, I would love to live in a world where I think it's safer for people to go and have to do all this stuff. Like you said, I kind of have to do this stuff for my work. I travel a lot for work and I say no to a lot of stuff, I think if it was a different world, I would say yes to a lot more things, but I have to have, this podcast wants to be on and to come IRL in New York. And it's I have to make all these precautions on set. I have to be so careful, and so there's a lot of things that I just say no to. But I don't know. It's just you got to do what you got to do. I'm trying to make a living. And I think a lot of creative people, I have a lot of friends that are musicians, and they have it so much harder because I feel like I'm an individual and my job, vlogging, I can't really vlog because my mask, people they can't always hear what I'm saying. And it's, that particular style of content creation I haven't done in a while, but everything else I can pretty much do. If you're a musician and you're performing or other things, I think it's a lot harder. So I kind of feel lucky, I guess, compared to some of my other friends. I don't know if it's fair to call those people content creators, but they're certainly creators in a sense of, I guess if you consider music content, I don't know.
Mike?
Well, believe me, I'm waiting to jump in. But it's an interesting question too, because yes, if you're a musician, your primary mode of content is music. But increasingly, in the economy that we're in, you can't just wear that hat. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're, if Whitney Houston was still alive, she'd probably have to make a TikTok when her new single came out. It's just part of the ball game now. And so I do think Anna's question is especially interesting because I have health challenges every now and then, but mostly fairly healthy. And when it comes to a lot of the content creation stuff, I just don't want to do it. So I could imagine if you do have health challenges, it seems like it's probably a bigger hill to climb when some days you just don't feel like it.
Yeah. I just count I'm not as sick as I was. And Anna, you were saying you had that spell of fatigue or whatever. I feel I just have to protect my health because when I was really, really sick, I couldn't do anything, And so I am just so acutely aware of how quickly it can destroy your life and talking to people and hearing from other people. So yeah, it's a very precarious thing. And I wish we live, I try to talk about it because I think it's really important for people to care. And I wish we lived in a country that had public health care and, where people masked and didn't send their kids to school with measles and didn't do these things. But yeah, it's very precarious. I feel you on the thing of sort of also just every creative person has to be a content creator now. I made this YouTube video, it was almost a year ago now, about what I would call resentment reels, which are just Instagram reels from artists, musicians, people that clearly feel so much resentment. They're
Right.
I'm here because my manager made me, or I have to do this. And obviously that's affected journalism too. I have investigative reporters that are I spent 9 months on this, foying police departments. Do I have to make a video about it now for anyone to read? So it's definitely affecting everyone in that way.
Yeah, I did a 9-month investigation into somebody killing a child, and now I have to make a TikTok about it.
Yeah.
Right?
It sucks. And that's because we have no sort of discovery mechanisms for journalism anymore. And it used to be that, because these institutions have been so gutted, it's the only discovery, content discovery systems we have are these social platforms that are run by billionaires where everything's optimized for engagement. And yeah, so I feel you. I like making TikToks, but so I don't mind as much, but it is a slog.
This episode is brought to you by Factor.
Cold days, big goals, absolutely zero interest in cooking? Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs.
No planning, no grocery math, no, what did I buy this ingredient for?
I love that Factor has quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats.
And there's so much variety. Over 100 rotating meals every week, including the new Muscle Pro meals, if you're doing strength stuff.
And they support your diet, whether it's high protein meals, Mediterranean, whole ingredients, healthy fats, or more. Plus, there are no refined sugars or artificial sweeteners.
I've looked for something like this for a long time, and Factor really is the best.
It's good food that tastes great and is ready in about 2 minutes, always fresh, never frozen, no prep, and no stress. Head to factormeals.com/pastdue50off. That's 50 off. And use code PASSDUE50OFF to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year.
Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan, 1 free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
So, we talked about COVID, and if we're thinking about the creator economy, it seems like there was a boom during the pandemic. A lot of it based on people being alone, and having technology and a bunch of people sitting around consuming what people are making. So it seemed like podcasts, TikToks, all sorts of things were getting more engagement. I'm curious from your perspective, like it seems like we're getting close, if not already in a recession. What do you see the creator economy looking like? What do you think the effect is going to be in this next sort of economic downturn?
Yeah, I think the pandemic is ongoing, and that's also still exacerbating a lot of these economic issues, actually, that we sort of are not acknowledging. I think that the economic downturn broadly, though, is going to be very negative for creators. I was talking to someone at Patreon recently about just subscription revenue and how hard it is during downtimes to maintain subscription revenue. Because it's like one of the first things that people cut. This is why you see companies like Netflix and these other big subscription businesses hedging, rolling out ad tier versions and things like that, because it's really easy to be someone's line item on an expense sheet, right? Like not everyone can afford $700 worth of subscriptions. So I have thought about it kind of a lot in terms of how I built my business model, because I've only been independent for about 5 or 6, almost 6 months, but not very long. And I'm way too over-reliant on subscriptions right now. So I'm trying to build out other revenue streams, because I know that, especially my audience, which my audience is like primarily younger people and not high income people, they're going to just cut my $7 a month off if they lose their job and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a hard time for creators, especially ones that rely on subscription, which is a lot of creators, because especially a lot of independent creators, they can't really piece together enough from brand deals. And if a recession hits too, like shows get canceled, like opportunities don't come as often. It's just harder.
I want to talk about a piece you wrote recently that I think slots in here, which was specifically about Substack, which you're on. Your Substack is your platform.
One of my platforms. I don't like to identify as a Substacker.
Your newsletter, yes,
my newsletter is on there for now. Yeah.
Is on Substack, and you are very wise to be diversifying your income streams, because I do think the Substack model is unstable right now, and it is turning away from being so directly beneficial to creators. And you wrote about that because it's the shift between the subscribe and the follow. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Substack rolled out this feature, I don't even know when it was now, maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, called the follow button. And basically people can follow you now on Substack within the app, but they don't have to subscribe to you or get your email. Like they don't have to give you their email address. Like they're just following you on the app. And they don't get your newsletter in their inbox, but they follow you and they can read your content in the app. It's a way to push people to read more content in the app. And this is a broader problem with Substack right now, where they're really pushing people to use the app and to consume in the app, as opposed to allowing creators to develop a direct relationship with their audience. So I have like 140,000 followers or something on Substack, but I only have 78,000 subscribers. And a lot of people who follow me think they subscribe,
Wow.
but they don't. They're just consuming my content in the app. So I don't like that. I think it's really dangerous.
And I think the key for me, when I think about why I left Substack, which was partially because the Nazis, although there's
Nazis on every platform.
I really want to emphasize that everybody makes the decisions that they can, right? Like I have a very small newsletter, so it really like wasn't any problem for me to leave, you know?
But Anna, I just want to say something about that. Like, there are no other platforms that offer the same functionality as Substack right now, period.
I agree.
And that's so frustrating.
Agree.
But I do not fuck with the Nazi stuff either, just to be clear.
I understand why people are on it. Like this is not a moral question for me in terms of like, you're a bad person if you're on Substack. Like it's part of the calculus that I did. But again, like for me, it was a relatively easy decision because that's not a huge place that I get a lot of income. I get some, and Button Down allows you to move over your subscriptions. We don't have to talk about the nuts and bolts of newsletters, although maybe we should do an episode about that since it is a thing that everyone's doing. But one of the reasons why I left was the fact that it's all going to the app, which means if the app disappears, if they get sold, if something happens, and you're stuck in a follower metric, you can't take those people with you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're stuck. And also it is another way in which we're moving away from what I think at least older folks like me still think of as a social media being, which is that you fall in love with a creator, right? And you want to support the creator. That's not how social media really works anymore, right?
Yeah, I think
it's the algorithm. It's not
exactly.
It's not like fall in love with a creator and you're like, I want to just consume what they put out. Maybe not everything, right? But it's the death of the follower model, right? Like it used to, and in one sense, it's actually better for users. It's just worse for creators. From a user standpoint, it's a huge burden to find content you like, go subscribe to someone, then you get all of their content when maybe you only like one type of their content. So it's actually a really poor, like subscription and follower feeds were never a good content delivery mechanism for creators in some ways, for users to receive content. For creators, they were good because you could count on your followers always seeing your content. Now that we've moved to algorithmic feeds, you're right, that relationship has been broken. And I think that's also why you see things like on TikTok creators who are so defined by algorithmic feeds don't have that same, they're not able to build those tight bonds with their audience the way that YouTubers can. When TikTok took over VidCon a couple years ago and sponsored VidCon for the first time ever, their content creators could not even fill up the meet and greet lines because people just don't have the same tight relationship with creators on very algorithmic defined platforms. So it's a huge problem and it makes me so nervous. And by the way, I'm probably going to be on Patreon too soon, but like Patreon has the same problem. It's a locked universe kind of, I think all these platforms, they want to gatekeep and create these walled gardens and we're losing the open web. Like websites, right? Like emails, like RSS feeds, even things like Spotify. I publish my podcast on Spotify and I'm in Spotify's creators program. But it's like you can only consume the video content on we're moving further and further away from RSS basically.
One thing you mentioned a little earlier was that, and it's just speaking of all these platforms, you were looking over your finances and you made the assessment that you feel like it's too subscription based and you were going to attempt to move in other directions. And I'm so curious what other directions you have in mind as much as you'd be willing to share.
Yeah. We might be interested in this. Just.
Maybe a little.
I mean, advertising is one. Advertising has been a challenge because every single time I get a brand deal, certain media reporters and terrible people call up the brand that I work with and start harassing them to stop working with me and say, do you stand by this and this and this? And do you stand by this? And do you stand by this? And, it's very difficult for the brands I work with. They're also there. They might be put in like a Fox News article or whatever, like I wrote one piece for Mehdi Hassan's Zateo, which now I'm a contributor to, but I wrote one piece for him and somebody wrote an entire hit piece of like, Mehdi Hassan Zateo stands by Taylor Lorenz, who's a da-da-da-da, like just trying to basically get his advertisers to cancel. So, I mean, this is just Gamergate shit, but it's really hard to build an advertiser business when you're like targeted in that way. But I am trying to find advertisers that don't care about, those types of things, which is, Delete Me, which is an amazing company that I work with a lot, has been amazing. And they actually work with people that have been like doxxed and harassed. It gets your information off, data broker websites and stuff like that. But advertising is a big one. I'm trying to do speaking engagements. It's another challenge because I've accepted multiple speaking engagements now. And then when I say that I have to wear a mask, they usually cancel.
Wow.
Which is hard. Yeah. Some of them haven't. But like probably 50% of them will have canceled.
I guess that's not covered by ADA. Like
it is technically.
Oh, it is.
It is, but
it is. They're making something less accessible for someone who is disabled.
Well, surprise, surprise. The ADA doesn't do anything, and nobody cares about the ADA, and nobody does any protections, and they don't care at all. If we followed the ADA, we would have a much more accessible world.
I guess what I meant was that should be covered by the ADA. What I meant was technically it's covered by the ADA, and technically people should be scared of violating it.
They should, but they don't.
I mean, politics is inherent in this entire discussion has already become clear. But it's the ADA is one of those things, the Americans with Disabilities Act is one of those things that the right-wing scaremongers that like, there's all these things you can't do because you'll wind up running afoul of the ADA and someone will come after you. But in reality, people don't even really build wheelchair ramps. Like,
no, but people can't even get this is a very inaccessible world. Also, we have Democrats. Let's not forget Democrats, Kathy Hochul, and many other Democrats are leading the charge to ban masks in major American cities right now. So they don't care about nobody cares about, unfortunately, this is a huge problem, right? Is that nobody cares about accessibility or anything like that. And I have a friend who's a wheelchair user and she's had the same thing where, she's invited to an event, which was a featured creator at one event actually. And they were like, oh, it's sorry, we're having a completely inaccessible space that she couldn't even get into. So it's like, I think accessibility is a huge problem. But I'm trying to build up like other like revenue streams and things like that. And figure out a way to make a living. I don't sell merch or anything like that, but I have other friends that have that as like a piece of their business pie. And I feel like it's just kind of like everyone figuring out their own mix. I also do a bunch of freelance writing. I just wrote a print feature for Rolling Stone. So I do dabble in that world still too. And I do
Taylor, I just keep coming back to like, I don't know how you do it. Like that amount of sheer words coming out of one person is so intimidating to me.
They're not always good. So there's that.
You've been, you mentioned something I was really interested in, because unfortunately you've been the target of right-wing harassment quite a few times. And just, with the things that we talk about on this show, I'm interested in the specific ways where that harassment has like affected your finances. And I wonder if it's ever positive. Not the harassment, of course, but the effect on the finances.
Yeah. Well, so what's positive is the attention, but sometimes, but unlike, and I've written about this, unlike male content creators where being controversial and dramatic and stuff is good, it's the opposite for women. And right before I signed on, I was messaging the editor of The Nation because they wrote this piece. I don't know if you saw, but Ben Smith published this piece about this billionaire group chat where they were sort of orchestrating harassment campaigns against me in the group chat. And this is people that are like Mark Andreessen, like these.
He's obsessed with you, Taylor.
They're all like obsessed with me in this very weird way, which is crazy. But The Nation wrote this article and it was like, and it was defending me. So I'm not hating it, but it was like, but it called me over dramatic. And that's something that is constantly used against women. And like Alyssa Mercante has dealt with this as well, who's been the target of a Gamergate harassment campaign. Like, you're just stigmatized. There's nothing you can do. If you respond to the hate campaigns, you're asking for it. If you refuse to respond, you're still tainted by it because they're like, oh, well, you want it. Isn't this attention good for you? No, people calling up my advertisers and harassing me and losing brand deals is not good for the bottom line. I would say the only thing that it's done is like, I guess, raise my profile in the sense that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's that girl that like Tucker Carlson's always talking about. But that's very hard to monetize. You can't monetize that if you're a woman, basically, because you can't lean into controversy if you're a woman. And same with people of color too. Like, if you lean into controversy, you're like, oh, people are like, oh, like if you're Black, you're like, oh, they're angry. Why are they so angry? And they're hateful. And, and if you're a woman, it's like, oh, she's so dramatic and she's such an attention whore. And
unless you're Candace Owens.
Well, so that's actually, I've talked to Candace about this. Yeah. And that's very different because Candace what she does is something completely different, and she's on the right. So she's part of the outrage machine.
That's sort of what I mean.
She's not like on the receiving end of that. She's on the receiving end of liberal outrage, which is different, but she's initiating those campaigns against people,
I agree. That's sort of the joke I was attempting to make. I mean, look at Jordan Peterson, like he cries like at the drop of a hat. Like that man is way over dramatic. But I think
they're on the right, so nobody cares.
But now you're making me think, I think that misogyny and racism exists on the left too, in terms of content creators and
hugely,
and controversy. I don't think you're rewarded on either end of the political spectrum if you're someone who can be marginalized because of your emotional register, right?
I mean, I think leftists, and I am extremely left myself, but like, like leftist internet communities are some of the most misogynistic communities I've ever seen. Like, and that's what I mean about like the weird comments about like masking or other things. Like, I get that from liberals and leftists, but like, I've been very critical. I'm critical of both parties. I'm very critical of the right, but I think a lot of people follow me because they see my criticism of the right and they assume that I'm on their Democrat, team blue team. And I'm very critical of the Democrats too. And the liberal men, centrist liberal men, have said some of the most misogynistic stuff. Like, these are people with like vote blue no matter who in their bio, So I think, misogyny is pervasive across the spectrum, just the way that racism and other forms of oppression are pervasive across the political spectrum.
So one of the things that I think you really embody, unfortunately, is the fact that if you're a content creator, and we can also, the term creative as a noun is another one that maybe is more inclusive of people like novelists and musicians and artists and Etsy creators and whatnot. You're a one-man band, right? Most of us. Some of us have some support systems that if we're able to hire them. But a lot of us are our own bookers, social media managers, social media, obviously we're social media content creators, but not just social media, the fun stuff, but like, come see me do this. Like, here's the info about this. It's not like a fun post, right? It's exhausting. And every time you go through what you do, I get, a contact burnout from hearing you say it. How do you, I asked you before, but like, do you recognize burnout in yourself? Like you've had this experience with chronic illness, where fatigue is both something that happens if you have it, but also something that contribute to coming down with further things. Like, what is your metric? What is your guideline? Like, how do you sustain just the act of being Taylor Lorenz?
I don't know. I have a very fluid schedule, I guess. Like, I kind of just work when I can work as much as I can. And then sometimes I crash out and go MIA. I get very overwhelmed. Feel like I'm in a constant state of overwhelm, but it's mostly from people asking things from me. I have a really hard time saying no. Like, I can't say no to anything. And so it's just constantly people asking me for things and me not being able to say no. So I've been trying to get better at that because I think that would really help. Like, I just, everybody wants, like, I want to help students a lot, but I just don't have time to talk every single day to students. And that is like a thing that I think has been a lot. Like people are like, can you do this interview for my school paper or something? And I'm like, I want to, but like, I literally don't have time to do that. Like, I just don't. So I've been trying to like say no to those things a little bit more to like, so that I don't get too overwhelmed. But I don't know. I live in LA and I think that that's been really good for my mental health because when I lived in New York, it's such a pressure cooker and it's so go, go, go. And I feel like here, like the mornings can be a little busy because you wake up and I wake up like, I don't know, random times. I don't even set an alarm. A lot of the time I just like wake up like pretty early, but I try to like let myself sleep as much as possible because I don't go to sleep until like 2 a.m. sometimes usually. But I just like, I don't know, like the mornings are busy because you're catching up on East Coast stuff, but the afternoons it's like chiller. So yeah, that's not a really coherent answer, but I'm trying to say no to more things. And I like living in a place that is a little bit calmer than New York City. I think I have more space here. I can go outside. The weather's perfect every day. And that does a lot, I think, for my mental health.
It's crunch time at work and you need to bring wings to your workday. Visit redbull.com/gettingitdone and answer a couple questions about your work style to get a Spotify customized playlist tuned to your productivity. Plus, score a can of Red Bull on us while you go from to-do to done. And remember, Red Bull gives you wings. Supplies are limited. Terms apply. Visit the website for more information.
So good, so good, so good.
Spring styles are at Nordstrom Rack stores now, and they're up to 60% off. Stock up and save on Rag & Bone, Madewell, Vince, All Saints, and more of your favorites.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Why do we rack? For the hottest deals. Just so many good brands.
Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
If this conversation is hitting home, we have even more waiting for you. Every episode, we save some of the most honest, unfiltered moments for our Patreon. Stories that don't make it into the main episode, but are too good not to share.
In this week's bonus segment, Taylor Lorenz opens up about the emotional whiplash of losing just one subscriber and why that tiny dip can feel like a punch to the gut. It's raw, relatable, and painfully true for anyone trying to make a living online.
Subscribe at patreon.com/pastdue to hear the full clip and get early access, other extras, and via our Discord, a little solidarity in this broken creative economy. Now, back to the show.
I live in LA too, and one thing that I feel like it lacks, it seems like an important part of at least surviving online now as a creator is having a community, right? LA to me feels like it's severely lacking in that. I wonder what is your experience of IRL community here in LA?
It is lacking in that. That is something that is so true. I have 5 or 6 friends, and those are my friends. And I see them and like, those are my friends. And I haven't even had time to see them in a while. But like, yeah, I don't have like a broader community here at all. I do volunteer, and that is something that I really like to do. Echo Park Trash Club, where we can pick up trash, is really fun, and everybody's really nice. And I also am involved with like a COVID advocacy group here called The Wayside, where we meet up every 3rd Saturday of the month and do a lot of actions. And I volunteer downtown sometimes, also doing public health stuff. Actually, this girl I met on TikTok invited me to volunteer with her at Water Drop LA, which is really cool. And they distribute water downtown to people. So that's been really good. Like, that's just been how I've like met a bunch of people. And it's sort of like it gets you involved in the community because you're doing something for the community. So I feel like I've like met just people, even the people that live kind of down in my neighborhood now. You know, I don't know. I feel like I know them now because I've encountered them enough. But yeah, that's like the only thing I've ever done to like meet people, because I don't know how to like meet people otherwise. Like, I feel like LA is a very like house party type city, and I can't really go to like, I'm also not a drinker, which a lot of people in LA aren't, but it's not like New York bar culture. You know what I mean?
I'm a big advocate of mutual aid.
Yeah, I'm having my
systems.
mutual aid awakening through Anna on this podcast. So,
And one of the things that I do to feel like to 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 give me, I don't want to say the energy because it is work, but to give me the sustenance, like the soul sustenance to keep going, is like just take leftovers to the free fridge in my neighborhood. Like it's a very low lift thing. Like you can just, they're on Instagram, and a lot of mutual aid places are, by the way, people who are looking, and a lot of free fridges are on Instagram. And we could talk about what the dangers are of being on Instagram as a mutual aid organization, maybe in this coming totalitarian future. But they'll put things up on there like, you have $20 here. Here's a $20 shopping list for stuff that we need right now, whether that's clementines and water or like Gatorade and sandwiches. And so that's been really sustaining for me. And of course, I belong to one of the largest mutual aid organizations in the world, where we meet in, church basements once a week and talk about 12 steps on the wall. I would love to bring more of the mutual aid ethos to creative culture, right? That's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, this idea that if we think of ourselves as a group of people who can support each other, then we have a better chance to get through what's coming. And I'm still kind of figuring out what that means, although part of it, I think, is just like lifting each other up on our platforms.
Which is really meaningful, by the way. Like, it still helps, but yeah.
And I don't know if you have thoughts on that. I mean, part of it also is like, if you have that extra $3 a month, like go ahead and subscribe to your friend's thing. Like, I know it's the first thing that gets cut out of people's budgets, but at the same time, like that $3 is incredibly meaningful. Like it really does matter. It doesn't take many $3 chunks to like get to groceries for the week, right?
Yeah, totally.
Do you have any other thoughts on that? Or even just maybe it's just a cultural shift. Maybe it's just the way we see ourselves.
I think that's helpful. Because we live in such a like hyper-capitalist, individualistic world. And also because since COVID started, like it's made people even more individualistic. Like everyone, especially when you look at younger generations too, they're so nihilist. It's so like, I'm just going to get mine. And this is why you see them doing like drop shipping scams and stuff. But it's like, I'm getting my money and I don't care what I have to do to get it, because that's the only security in the world is me. And that is not true, because we all rely on each other. We live in a society, whatever is the meme. And so, yeah, I think just like helping each other. I mean, one thing I've really liked actually is how collaborative I think like the content creator industry has been. Like, I mean, a lot of people have like helped me a lot. I saw this YouTuber, Johnny Harris, this past weekend, who was helping me with some stuff. He's like literally gone out of his way to just like help me so much for nothing. I can't do anything for him. So like, I think it's really nice, especially if you're a bigger content creator, to like shout other people out. Or like, I mean, I try to help like younger people too. But it's a change in mindset. And so often, especially online, it's so competitive because you're like literally ranked numerically like next to people. And so it can feel very like cutthroat almost, and people get competitive with each other. But I think that's bad. Obviously, I think a rising tide lifts all ships, and it's like one day you're up, one day you're down. Like the internet's very volatile too. So I would love if we had more communities and stuff like that. I wish there's this one thing that this guy Eric in LA does that's like a content creator like pickleball meetup on Saturdays. And I go to that a lot too. And it's really fun. And I like to talk to other people, and everyone there like talks about problems all the time. And it's good therapy. And it's outdoors, it's accessible. Like you don't have to play pickle, you can watch. It's like, it's safe for people, like it's just like a good activity that's not just like everybody drink at a bar or something like that.
As we, sort of wrap this up, I'm curious what you're seeing in content creation spaces, since you're so dialed in, you observe them, you participate in them, you are a content creator yourself. What do you see happening or emerging in content creation spaces that's like inspiring to you, that feels like fulfilling to see?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say it's inspiring to me necessarily, but I think the rise of AI is so pervasive. And I think that you have this group of people in the media and just generally, and people that care about art that are like extremely anti-AI for good reason, by the way, and like very like hostile to it, and don't want to see creators using it. And then you have the rest of the internet, which loves it. They do not care. They just want to see the funny AI animals, and AI stories. And I think that one, that we're fighting a little bit of a losing battle against a lot of this tech, because it's just not inevitable, but we should fight for protections. We should fight for protections for artists and all this stuff. But I think that consumer, especially younger consumers' sentiment around it is not they don't care. They just don't. And a lot of content creators don't care either. So I think it's, and I think there's a difference too between using generative AI versus an AI tool that helps you edit your videos, which they should totally use, right? That's good use of AI maybe, although maybe it's taking a job away from an editor. I don't know. But that's the big thing that I've seen lately is just these tools. And
I've been pretty open about using AI for scheduling and for summarizing stuff, because I'm neurodiverse and have trouble kind of executive function stuff. And using it to plan my day and to kind of just set a schedule for myself when it feels so overwhelming allows me to create.
Yeah.
If I was stumbling around so much, actually it was when I got sick that and when all my money ran out, all my savings ran out, I have had in the past, when I was rolling in dough, I hired a young person to help me I was a job creator. I had an assistant, I had someone help me do scheduling, but I don't have those resources anymore. And I think it's funny, I talked a little bit about this on Blue Sky, and man, people don't like to hear that.
Blue Sky doesn't like to hear that. Blue Sky is living in La La Land. And I think the thing about Blue Sky, and I love Blue Sky, okay?
I do
I'm
too.
on there. But they have no sense. They're extremely judgmental.
Yeah.
And most of them have no idea what it takes to be a creative person, or the way that AI is already integrated into all of the products that we use. I use Adobe software, and there's just tons of that, or Canva or whatever, right? So again, I'm not saying that I think that artists need protections against their work being used in training data. We all agree on that, right? But we need technology to make our lives easier and smarter. And I am pro technology.
Yeah.
I just am. I do believe in a better world through technology, not the technology that we have today necessarily run by evil billionaires, but exactly what you just said. It can free you up to create. That's the dream.
And I think about it a lot, right? Because I do see the dangers, but I also feel like we are better off fighting the fight for protections than we are fighting the idea of AI. And I guess what I just had a pang of guilt about was telling our audience, which I do feel has people who need this kind of assistance, go ahead and use AI. Again, it's you have to make the decision for yourself. And I just don't believe in purity tests. And I don't believe in telling everyone what the right moral thing to do is. I only can decide that for myself. And I would love to be in a place where I could hire someone to help me.
Totally.
That would be fantastic. But I only can get there.
Well, what's so crazy? I just had this conversation literally this weekend with another YouTuber who said that she hired an assistant, and this is someone with millions of followers, when she had 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I was like, what? And she was like, it was the only way that I could grow, because I knew that I was so disorganized. And she said she felt really she had to pay them basically very little.
Yeah.
And I have been holding off on hiring anybody to help me, even though I desperately need help. And I would make more money, but even just hiring somebody to the basic things, because I have felt bad. I'm well, I want to be able to pay them more and whatever. And anyway, she convinced me just this weekend. She was like, Taylor, just do it for 6 months, just to get yourself out of a hole, hire someone for not very much, and go to students. Just look for somebody that has 10 hours free time during the week. They want something for their resume. You're paying them a little bit and it's a little spending money. And I was like, you know what? Yes, that's what I should just do.
Yeah, I've had different times in my life when I've been been in a better place financially, and I've hired an assistant, but usually it gets to help with very specific things that like, oh, is my time better spent over here or over here? And, so I don't know. I think it's a good thing to do. And I really like this conversation around AI too. I feel like this is a great place to have it. And I feel like it's great to have it in front of our audience because it is unfolding in these public spaces where, it reminds me of the conversation when I first heard of NFTs, and specifically like as an artist, right? As a musician, the first discussions I heard of NFTs was like, oh, it's this glorious thing where us as artists, we're finally going to be able to like have some value in our digital works because they'll be earmarked and they'll be one of one. And so like on the surface of it for an artist, it's like, great, because as we all constantly discuss, it's just harder and harder to be a creative, right? So when tools come along, we get excited to use them, but then you watched the discourse overnight with all of the ethical concerns around it, with how ultimately just silly it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes like, oh, okay, well, missed that boat. And I feel like there's a similar thing happening with AI, where it is, first of all, it is too general of a term because it means too many different things. And on the creative side, inside of that very general term, there's a lot of stuff that can make being a creative easier in this time when it's really hard. But then within that, there are ethical concerns all over the place about stealing artists' work, about power consumption, and all of this stuff that is also real. So I don't know. I'd like that the conversation's happening because, as Taylor said, I think that there's a lot of people who think they understand what they're talking about when they use these terms, and they really don't. So I'm always glad to hear us analyze this stuff and take it apart.
I think that's why people have this like reflexive anger towards it, right? They're like, oh, you use AI. But it's like, you probably use AI in different things of your life too, and you just don't realize it.
One last question for you, Taylor.
We keep threatening to end the interview.
I'm curious if there's any newsletter writer, Substack, or YouTuber who you think is just absolutely killing it right now that you would want to shout out.
Oh my gosh. So many people. And I'm like, who should I even shout out? Well, I talked to him yesterday, but Garrison Hayes is really good. He made me think of it. I love his YouTube videos. Isn't too enough. He's actually at Mother Jones right now. But he has his own content too.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He's great.
Yes. He's so great. I love him. I mean, Kat Tenbarge is really good. She just launched her own newsletter. It's called Spitfire News. It's on Beehive. She left NBC. She covers misogyny and hate campaigns. Ofi Doki is a feminist YouTuber who I had on my podcast recently, who's amazing. She coined the term the misogyny slop ecosystem, which is like this term that speaks to like, all the like hate content against like Amber Heard and Blake Lively and stuff like that. And does a really good job of sort of like showing these like radicalized like narratives in pop culture. Coco Moco is another one that does the same thing. So I guess I'll shout out all of them.
Nice.
Okay, now this is a good place to stop. I'm glad that we're able to draw to a close on something that's not like we're all fucked. Thank you so much. You are someone that I've admired for a long time. So heartened by your success and by your fierce opinions that you keep expressing, and your appearance on Sean Hannity should be archived and studied by current professors of media studies and also by historians, and also everyone who's listening should watch it because it's the only time I have seen Sean Hannity get owned by a liberal guest. Just, as they say in clip land, destroy.
I know, that's what I made the title. I put the clip on my YouTube and I put Taylor Lorenz destroys Sean Hannity.
If this interview has depressed anyone, solution, go watch that.
I agree. The fierceness in which you do your thing is admirable and an inspiration to all of us. And before we let you go, one of the most important things we do on this show is ask you to plug your stuff.
Okay, well, that is easy. My newsletter, as you mentioned, is usermag.co. So you just go to usermag.co. It's a tech and online culture newsletter. It comes about 2 or 3 times a week. And it's just all about sort of, everything that's going on the internet. It keeps you up to date with the news. And then my YouTube channel is Taylor Lorenz. So please subscribe. I'd say my YouTube channel is like my main priority aside from my newsletter. And I have a podcast called Power User. That's a weekly tech and online culture podcast. It's an interview show. It comes out every Thursday. It's got Power User on all platforms, and it's on my YouTube channel as well. So subscribe to my YouTube, check out my newsletter on usermag.co, and you can check out Power User Podcast anywhere.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Anna, this is one of the most important things we do. Please plug away.
Well, Mike, I do have a newsletter. It's at newsletter.annmariecox.com. I am running writing workshops all year long. The next one will be in the fall. It's called The Third Story. More at my website. And I have my other podcast called Space the Nation, which is about science fiction and politics. We've been covering Andor because Andor is amazing. And we just recorded an episode about Sinners, which I would actually like to talk to you about. And of course, I'm a contributing editor at The New Republic. Mike, what do you have to plug this week?
Most important thing for me is I'm going on tour all across these United States. I'm starting in Los Angeles and ending somewhere in like Richmond, Virginia, or something like that. But it's all on MikeEagle.net in an organized way where you can buy a ticket if I'm performing near you.
Thanks so much for listening to Past Due. We want to hear from you. Find us at pastduepodcast.com or on Blue Sky and Instagram at Past Due Podcast.
Since this episode was all about what it takes to survive online and what happens when the platforms you depend on stop working for you, we know you probably have a story too.
So tell us, when's a time that a platform totally let you down? When something changed and it suddenly stopped working? Share your story on social media and tag us, or leave it in a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. We'll read some of our favorites in an upcoming episode.
If you're enjoying Past Due, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing the show really helps us keep these conversations going. Thank you for being here.
Past Due is hosted by Anna Marie Cox and Open Mike Eagle. It's produced by Andrew Stephen. You can find more at pastduepodcast.com. Help support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/pastdue. You'll get bonus content, extended interviews, and more.
Stop doom scrolling. Start decoding the tech rewiring your week and your world. The Interface is the BBC's fiercely informed, fast, and funny take on how technology is changing everything.
Hosted by journalists Tom Germain, Karen Howe, and Nikki Wolf, each episode unpacks week by week the unfolding story of how technology is shaping all our futures. No guests, no jargon, just 3 sharp voices debating the tech news stories that matter. Whether they shook a government, broke the internet, or quietly tipped the balance of power.
As TikTok shifts geopolitics, Trump drives digital shockwaves, Elon Musk expands his space internet empire, and AI reroutes the routines of everyday life. The trio asks, what world are the tech titans building for us? And do we want to live in it?
Find The Interface from the BBC wherever you get your podcasts.
Sometimes it feels like red and blue states are just as divergent as post-World War II East and West Germany. So what can the US learn from German political history in order to create a more perfect union? Find out on the new season of The Future of Our Former Democracy, the Signal Award-winning podcast from More Equitable Democracy and Large Media, hosted by me, Colin Cole, and Heather Villanueva. It's time to rethink democracy. So follow The Future of Our Former Democracy wherever you get your podcasts.